Okay, here we go. We are moving on with the next section of Beowulf. So make sure you have your supplies, your pens, your red, blue, and green pens. Make sure you have your study questions for Beowulf number 4. This is the fourth section of Beowulf that we're reading. Make sure you have your notebook paper to write your answers on. I went ahead and put my name and the title of the assignment right here at the top so it's easy to identify. I started writing number 1 so that you could see how I have my paper set up. So you might want to do that. And then of course you should have your color writing that you should have picked up when you came in for number 4. Make sure you have this one as well. Okay, so we're on page 55 of the book. You don't have to have a book to follow along as I read, but you will need a book for your color writing, for your concrete detail. So you will need to get a book at some point to do that. Okay, page 55, we're going to start right down here under the picture of this little paragraph. It says, although one monster has died, another still lives. So one monster has died, Grendel, because Beowulf ripped off his arm, but another still lives, and we can assume from the title it's talking about the mother. From her lair in a cold and murky lake where she has been brooding over her loss, Grendel's mother emerges, bent on revenge. So Grendel's mom wants to get revenge for her son being killed. Okay, we're going to go down here. We're going to kind of skip around a lot because we got a lot to cover. So we're going to skip down to line 400. The bright vein of their luck. No female, no matter how fierce, could have come with a man's strength, fought with the power and courage men fight with. What do you think the poet is trying to say about men and women in battle here? It says no female, no matter how fierce, could have come with a man's strength. So what do you think the poet is trying to say? What kind of point is the poet trying to say about men and women in battle? Okay, so the poet is saying that all females, even monster females, I mean she is a monster but she's female, are weaker warriors than males. So the author is trying to imply that because Grendel's mother is a female, she's going to not be as fierce or as powerful as Grendel was. Now, I'm not asking you to agree or disagree with that. I'm just telling you what the story says. Okay, we're going to skip down towards the bottom of the page, down to line 414 right here. It said she'd taken Hrothgar's closest friend. So she comes in to the bar to Harrod where they killed Grendel, and she takes Hrothgar the king. She takes the king's best friend. So why do you think that Grendel took the king's best friend? And it was because, remember up here at the top it says revenge. So she wants to get back at the king. She wants the king to feel the same pain that she felt with the loss of her son. So she said, you know, if you're going to come after my son who's precious to me, then I'm going to come after your best friend who's precious to you. So again, she wants that revenge. Okay, we're going to go ahead and turn the page. At the top of the page, okay, I'm going to try to adjust my document camera, so just give me a second here. I'm going to turn it, and then we're going to turn this. There we go. Okay, we just need this little bit right here at the top of the page. Sorry, I'm still trying to get used to this. Okay, we're on the top of page 56, and we're going to start here at line 421. She had carried off Grendel's claw. So she takes Hrothgar's best friend, but she also takes Grendel's claw. Remember, Beowulf ripped off Grendel's arm and then hung it up as a symbol of their safety, and the fact that, you know, it was like his trophy. He was proving that he did it. So now Grendel's mother has taken the claw or the arm of Grendel with her. So she took Hrothgar's best friend and she takes his arm. So why do you think that she took Grendel's arm? Okay, and it's because remember that arm represents their safety. I'm turning my camera. Just give me a second. Remember that arm is a symbol of their safety, right? And so now that it's gone, she's like sending a message to them that you guys are no longer safe. You thought you were safe because you killed my son, but now you have to deal with me. So she takes that as a way of showing them, hey, you know, you thought you were safe, but you're really not. All right, so page 57. This is the battle with Grendel's mother. Hrothgar the king goes to Beowulf and says, "Will you please help us again and battle Grendel's mother? We need you to save us once more." And Beowulf is going to accept. So let's go ahead and start. We're right underneath the picture. It says Beowulf accepts Hrothgar's challenge. So he of course takes the challenge because he's the hero. And the king and his men accompany the hero to the dreadful lair of Grendel's mother. Fearlessly, Beowulf prepares to battle the terrible creature. So he's ready to, help mankind just like he has been in the past. Okay, line 454. And all at once that greedy she-wolf, talking about Grendel's mother, she's not really a wolf, it's just a descriptive way of describing Grendel's mother. So, and all at once the greedy she-wolf who'd ruled those waters for 100 years. So how long has Grendel's mother lived here in this lake? It says 100 years, so 50 years. So that's number 4. I mean, I really don't need to put it up there, but 50 years. How long has she ruled? Okay, we don't need anything else on that page, so we're going to go to the next page. We are on page 58 now, if you're following along in your book. And we're at the top of page 58. So we're going to start right here at line 468 as they followed along. And then he realized suddenly that she'd brought him into someone's battle hall, and there the water's heat could not hurt him, nor anything in the lake attack him through the building's high arching roof. Okay, so go back up here at the top. It says, and then he, Beowulf, realized that she'd brought him into someone's battle hall. So where has she taken him? She's taken him to like an arena underwater, where there's a roof, and Beowulf can breathe, and he can walk, and he can fight, and do all these things. So that's where she's taken him. It's like an underwater battle hall, and he can walk around and breathe and fight. Okay. Go down here. Line 472. The building's high arching roof, a brilliant light burned all around him, the lake itself like a fiery flame. So he's jumped into the lake, and as soon as he jumps into the lake, she grabs him and takes him to this underwater battle hall, this underwater arena. And Beowulf's looking around, and he says the light burned around him, the lake itself like a fiery flame. So why do you think that Beowulf is describing the lake like flames? Remember where Grendel was created. So why would Beowulf be giving this description of fiery flames? And that's because it's the image of hell. Remember, Grendel was created in hell, and this is his mother, so she obviously represents evil as well. So he's giving that description of hell-like imagery. Okay, we're going to skip down here to line 480. It says, skin that Hrunting could not hurt her, was useless. Okay, we got to look over here in the margin of our book, and it says Hrunting, the name of Beowulf's sword. So that's the name of Beowulf's sword. Now I know that's probably a very odd name to you, but the soldiers, the warriors during this time period, there's number 7, they would name their swords. That was just a sign of, I guess, respect towards their weapon and the fact that they had to kill with it. But that's the name of his sword. And you might want to mark that as a bonus question, because you might see that as a bonus on a test later. Okay, we're going to skip down to line 485. So he's trying to, now let me skip back up to where it said about his sword, Hrunting could not hurt her, was useless. So he's trying to hurt or stab Grendel's mother, but his sword is not working. It's useless. It's not causing any damage. Okay, so now let's look at line 485. It was the last time anyone would wear it, but Beowulf longed only for fame, leaped back into battle. So his sword's not working, but he still leaps into battle. He still wants to fight. He still wants to do everything he can to put up a good fight against his enemy. So why do you think that this is so important to him? What motivates him? Why is he willing to keep fighting? What motivates him? It says right here, longed only for fame, leap back into battle. So what is motivating him? That's number 8, is fame and glory. He is motivated by the fame that he'll get from winning this battle. So he keeps fighting even though his weapon is not working. Okay, we're going to skip down to the bottom of the page, line 500. And in an instant she, Grendel's mother, had him, Beowulf, down, held helpless, squatting with her weight on his stomach. So she threw him down, and now she's like squatting on top of his chest. She drew a dagger, brown with dried blood, and prepared to avenge her only son. So she pulls out a dagger, a small sword with dried blood on it, and she's getting ready to stab Beowulf in his chest. Okay? But he was stretched, top of the next page, top of page 59. He was stretched on his back, and her stabbing blade was blunted by the woven mail shirt he wore on his chest. Okay, if you don't know what this mail shirt is right here, I'm sorry that it's kind of marked through, but I'm going to put a little box around it. Mail shirt is armor that these warriors would wear. It was like if you've ever watched any medieval movies with knights, it was like the little small chains that were kind of woven together, and it was very flexible. It would move. But they would wear it over their body with, these metal, kind of like a very primitive, bulletproof jacket, if you will. But it would protect them somewhat from being attacked by a sword or a dagger or a knife or something like that. So anyway, it says he was laying on his back, and her stabbing blade was blunted by that armor that he wore on his chest. So he is protected by that mail shirt, by that armor. Okay, now look down here on line 509. It says woven metal had not helped, and holy God who sent him victory. So what does save Beowulf? What protected Beowulf? Do you think it was the armor, or do you think it was God? Which one? It's God, because Beowulf is a Christian, remember? And it says, holy God who sent him victory. So he believes that God protected him and saved him in this time. Okay? So I skipped some questions, so I'm sorry about that. But we talked about why, or what motivates Beowulf in these lines, and it was fame. So why is fame important to Beowulf? And why is it important to all warriors at this time? And it's because fame is important for 2 reasons. Because these people would get wealth or money given to them for performing these services for people, and then also people would tell stories about them. They would basically let them live forever by repeating these stories about them, and so they would become known for all times. And so that's the reason why fame is important to these warriors at this time, is those 2 reasons. Okay, also when Grendel's mother was sitting on Beowulf's chest and had the dagger on him, why is this create suspense? And it's because this is the first time that we see Beowulf in a vulnerable position. It's the first time that he might lose, because we're not sure, what's going to happen, if he's going to be able to recover, if he's going to be able to kill her, or, if he's going to be killed himself. So it creates suspense because we don't know what's going to happen. Number 11, we just talked about this, what protected Beowulf in the battle, and we talked about how it was either the mail shirt or God, and we decided that it was God that protected him because, again, he is a Christian, and he believes that God is determining his fate. Okay, now we're going to skip right here where it's line 513. It says, then he, Beowulf, saw hanging on the wall a heavy sword hammered by giants, strong and blessed with their magic. the best of all weapons, but so massive that no ordinary man could lift its carved and decorated length. Okay, so he looks over, and hanging on the wall, he sees this huge sword, like massive, that no ordinary man could lift it. Now, Beowulf is not an ordinary man, right? So he sees this huge sword that was made by giants and has their magic, and he goes over there and rips it off the wall and takes the cover off of it. Okay, and we're going to keep going. It's carved and decorated length. He drew it from its scabbard, broke the chain on its hilt, and then, savage, now angry and desperate, lifted it high over his head and struck her with all the strength he had left, caught her in the neck and cut it through, broke bones and all. So he hit her with this massive sword in the neck, and it says caught her in the neck, cut it through, broke bones and all. So what did he do to Grendel's mom? That's number 12, so here you go. He took this massive sword made by giants and cut off her head. So he sliced off her head. Okay, now let's talk about this. Do you think that this massive sword on the wall that just happened to be magical and so big that no ordinary man could lift it, do you think that that sword just magically appeared? No. It was probably put there for Beowulf to use. So who do you think put that sword there for Beowulf to use? And yes, it was God, of course, because the story was written to get people to convert to Christianity. So our hero, our Christian hero, has to be aided and helped by God to get rid of this evil. Okay, we're going to skip down. We're going to be at line 528. It says, own candle lit in the sky. He looked at her home, then followed along the wall, went walking, his hands tight on the sword, his heart still angry. He was hunting another dead monster. So Beowulf is looking for another monster before he leaves this underwater arena. So what is the only other monster there would obviously be Grendel, right? So he's looking for Grendel. Why do you think he's looking for Grendel? Probably just to make sure that he's dead, right? So line 540, in his pouch. But Beowulf repaid him for those visits, found him lying dead in his corner, armless, exactly as that fierce fighter had sent him out from Heorot. So he found him, and he would look dead. Then he struck off his head with a single swift blow. The body jerked for the last time, then laid still. So what does he do after he kills Grendel's mother, which is 13? He looks for Grendel in the underwater den. Once he finds him, he cuts off his head. So why do you think he cut off Grendel's head? So it's probably because he just wants to make sure that he doesn't come back to life and he has to deal with him again, just as, like an insurance policy to make sure, make sure you're dead. I'm going to cut off your head. Okay. All right. We're going to go to the next page. At the top of page 60, this is very important. Okay. So please make sure you're listening, make sure you're paying attention. It's kind of confusing, so you need to actually listen here. It says, top of page 60, make sure I'm not skipping anything before we, okay, so let's see. Yeah, I think we're good. All right, top of page 60, it says, the wise old warriors who surrounded Hrothgar, like him, staring into the monster's lake. Okay, let's stop, because where was our setting on the previous page? We were underwater, right? And now, this page, it says the wise old warriors who surrounded Hrothgar, like him, staring into the monster's lake. So obviously our setting has shifted, right? Our setting is different. So we are now on the surface of the lake, where everybody is watching the lake, waiting to see what happens with Beowulf. Okay? So I'm going to start over. The wise old warriors who surrounded Hrothgar, like him, staring into the monster's lake, saw the waves surging and blood spurting through. So they're standing there looking at the lake, and what do they see coming to the surface? They see blood coming to the surface. Okay? So skip down to line... Oh no, we're going to keep going right here. Spurting through. They spoke about Beowulf. All the graybeards whispered together and said that all hope was gone. That hope was gone. that the hero had lost fame in his life at once, and would never return to the living, come back as triumphant as he had left. Almost all agreed that Grendel's mighty mother, the she-wolf, had killed him. So they all think that Beowulf has been killed because that blood is rising to the surface. So that's number 14. They think that Beowulf has been killed. Okay, now, did you really just do that? They think that Beowulf has been killed. So, let's keep going right here. At the break right here in the middle of the page. Okay, we're gonna start right here. It says, then the sword melted. So we need to stop again, because where are we now? We're talking about the sword melting. So where is there a sword that has melted? It's back underwater, right? So we've shifted the setting again. So now we're underwater. All right. We were up on the lake watching the blood come up, and now we're back underwater. Okay. So let's answer number 15. It says, how does the setting change in these lines heighten the sense of suspense in the narrative? How does this create suspense? So why did they switch the setting on us? Why didn't we just stay underwater? Why did we have to go up to the surface? How does that create suspense? So think about it. We as the reader are reading this, and we know that those characters, all the warriors on the surface, we know that they think that Beowulf has died, right? So we as the reader know something that the people in the story don't know, okay? So there's a term for that, which I'll tell you in just a second, but there's 15. How does it create suspense? Because the reader knows that Beowulf has won, and you want the warriors on the shore to realize that they're wrong. Okay. When you as the reader know something that the characters in the story themselves don't know, there is a literary term for that, okay? There's another example I'm going to tell you. When you go to a horror movie, the person always goes into the room where the killer is, right? So you, as the audience member at the movie, know that the killer's in there, but yet the person still goes in there. That is called dramatic irony right there. Now, I would put a star next to that or something, because that's probably going to be a bonus question on your test, so I would make sure that you know what that is and understand and mark that, okay? So, how does it create suspense? Because you, as the reader, know something that that the characters in the story don't know. All right, now, right here in this break, we're almost done. It says, then the sword melted. So we're back underwater again with Beowulf, okay? And the sword that he used, the sword made by giants that he used to cut off Grendel's mother's head, has melted. Okay, so why do you think that the sword melts? Why do you think it melts? And it's because it has completed its job. It's conquered all the evil. God placed it there for Beowulf to use to kill Grendel's mother, to be successful as a Christian warrior. It's accomplished its job. It's no longer needed, so it melts. Alright, we are going to skip down to kind of the middle of the page. We are on line 568. It says, God, the monster's hall was full of rich treasures, but all that Beowulf took was Grendel's head and the hilt. I wrote it out here on the side. Hilt means handle, okay? And the handle of the giant's jeweled sword. So he looks around, and there's a whole bunch of treasure and a whole bunch of riches there. But the only things that he takes is two things. Number 17, what does he take with him? He takes Grendel's head and the handle of the sword that he used. Okay? He takes Grendel's head, not the mom's head, but Grendel's head. And he takes Grendel's head because he has terrorized the Danes longer than Grendel's mother. So that head is going to mean more to those people than the mother. Okay? So those are the two things that he takes with him. Alright, skip down to line 575. Swam up and away from those silent corpses. The water was calm and clean, the whole huge lake peaceful. So the water was calm and clean, the whole huge lake peaceful, once the demons who lived in it were dead. So what happens to the lake as Beowulf swims out of it and goes to shore, and it becomes clear and calm because all the evil has been destroyed. and good has won. So at the beginning it was, bubbling and hot and steamy, and then there's blood rising to the surface, and now that Beowulf has accomplished what he needs to, it becomes clear and calm. Okay, very good. So we really don't need to read anymore, but I do want to answer number 19. We kind of briefly talked about this. Beowulf takes Grendel's head. So let me find that. That was number 17. So here we go. He takes Grendel's head. Okay, so number 19 says, why do you think the Geats want the Danes to see the monster's skull? So, why do you think Beowulf wants the king to see Grendel's head? Okay, so there's a couple reasons. Why? Is because, this is 19, it's Beowulf's trophy. Remember, he wants to brag that he did it. And then it's another symbol of their safety, so they're safe yet again. Okay, so that's it for the study questions. I'm going to go ahead and stop this and do the color writing as separate. So if you did the reading on your own, or you just want the writing by itself, I'm going to go ahead and do 2 separate videos. So I'll address the writing in the next video. It should be labeled Beowulf 4 writing. So if you want to watch that to help you with the writing, you can. Otherwise, the color writing is due at the end of class, and you have plenty of time in which to do it. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.